Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, and she should be your real estate voice, and here's why. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, sometimes people decide to sell a rental home. What are some of the things that they should be prepared for?
Well, Richard, if you're selling a rental home, probably one of the common questions I get from homeowners is, can I sell it with my tenant in there? And my answer is kind of, it depends. There are some tenants that are cooperative and they keep their home neat and tidy and show ready, and it might be okay. But most of the time, that's not the case. In fact, most of the time, the tenant has a vested interest in either keeping it as a rental property and not having it sell. So if you put it on the market and it doesn't show very well, that can absolutely work against you. Buyers are extremely picky right now. But if the tenant has given you notice or you've given them notice, whichever is the case, and it's time to start thinking about selling the property, they recently passed a few laws that are very, very important for a landlord to know. One of them is that if you plan to sell the house, say at the end of their term, you can't wait until 30 days before the end of their term to let them know. You actually have to give them at least 90 days and preferably 120 to let them know you plan to sell it and you're not going to renew their lease. And if you change your mind, they could take you to court and you can get in trouble. So it's one of those things where that's a pretty big change. 120-day notice is a lot of time. The tenants don't have to give you that much notice to move out. But let's say they didn't move or didn't pay, or there's some reason why you're going to have to end their lease. In general, the laws have been the same. If they don't pay, you can evict them. Or if they don't comply with the lease, you can evict them. However, the timeline for notification has greatly been expanded. So just to post a notice that you're going to evict them or you're going to get a court date, that takes 30 days. Then it could take another 30 days just to get a court date. And then it kind of depends on what the judge says. So our laws are really mirroring California a lot. I call it California, where it's very similar, that the tenants actually have a lot of rights, and you need to be very careful before you just tell the tenant you're out, you got to go. You can't do that in the state anymore. So, but when you do sell a rental property, there definitely are some different tax consequences as compared to if you sold your primary residence. If you're a single person and you sell your primary house, you could profit as much as $250,000 tax-free. If you're married and you sell your primary house, you could profit as much as $500,000 tax-free, and do that every 2 years. That would be perfect world, actually. But when you're selling a rental property, it's a little bit different. If you live in the state of Colorado and you're selling a Colorado rental property, you would likely have to pay some sort of capital gain on the time that you had it rented out. And so it's a rather complicated tax thing where you factor in the depreciation that you've taken, you minus off all your expenses, right? And it changes the basis of the home. So definitely talk to a tax professional before you sell a rental home, because that could hurt you on the tax front. If you don't live in the state and you're selling a rental property, the title companies will collect 2% of the sales price at closing and send that to the state, and the state's going to wait for you to file a tax return within the state. So they don't allow out-of-state investors to just sell a house and be done with it. They want to make sure they get their piece of the pie too. So I wanted to make you aware of that, because a lot of people that are selling rental properties that don't live in the state may not know that. So it's absolutely critical that you talk to a tax professional and just get a plan. I mean, most people are going to make a profit when they sell a rental property. Make sure you set some money aside, whatever your tax person says, to pay those taxes the following year. The other thing is you want to consider what kind of repairs that you're going to have to do on a house to get it to sell ready. Now, I would say, there are some tenants that take care of homes, but in my mind, we have one rental property here in the state, and I'm just planning on the carpet being thrashed. I just know that's going to happen. There may be some other things I have to take care of as well. So kind of build up your fund for that as you have the rental property, because there's always repairs. I just helped a client sell their home last year, and they had it rented. They were a military couple. They bought it, and they got a good price when they bought it, and then they got orders right away. So basically, they were only lived in it for a year, and they turned around and rented it out for about 10 years. Now, all that time, the tenants kind of beat up things like the carpet, this and that. There were a couple of broken windows. The screens were thrashed. I mean, stuff is going to happen, right? So once the home was vacated, I kind of took over to sell it from the property management company. And there were a lot of things to take care of. The flooring was pretty much done. All the screens were torn. There were a couple of broken windows. It wasn't very clean. So, but once those things got resolved, it sold right away. I don't recommend that you put your house on the market as is in its roughed up condition, unless you're actually lowering the price below similar sales, and it opens the door for somebody to get in and put their own thing into the house at a reasonable price. And buyers actually can get renovation loans, where they can actually finance up to $35,000 into the loan to fix it up. But there's a price for that. It's not going to be full retail value. So if you do want full retail value, you really have to put your retail hat on and say, all right, am I in a department store where everything's fresh and new and smells good, or not? So a lot of people don't recognize odor, especially if they live in it when they had pets. The question is, can the buyers move right in? And what work do you have to do to get top dollar? Or are you just going to sell it as is and maybe price it what I call very, very, very realistically? Now, there are some exceptions to that. Last year, we did sell a fourplex in a nice area. And I have to tell you, I was even surprised at how much money this property commanded. But the seller did everything right as far as preparation. They prepared properly. They left one unit empty so the buyers could see what that unit looked like fixed up. And then they also priced it very realistically. So we ended up getting a bidding more. And I was pretty surprised at the ultimate sales price of that property, just because it needed some work, but it was in a good location. And to me, the numbers didn't work, but I think there's a lot of investors that like to deploy their cash, especially for multifamily, fourplexes, threeplexes, stuff like that. So you have to consider how much it costs to remodel. The good news is any improvements that you put into a rental property are going to be deductible off your expensing to sell it. So you won't have to pay taxes on that investment, which is a good thing. And probably the most popular things that buyers really want taken care of are fresh flooring, fresh appliances, if possible, updated kitchen. If not, at least all the appliances match. So like before me, I have a picture of a house that we sold that the formica was in good shape, but it was torn and ripped off on one corner. So it really didn't look good. So what they did was they invested just $2,000 and replaced the formica counters. And some of the formicas these days look as nice as granite, and it sold right away in that scenario. Also, simple, inexpensive things that you can take care of are things like lighting, bathroom fixtures. Make sure the tub doesn't have any mold or discolored grout. Those can be easy fixes. Those can be hard fixes. If the grout or the seals in the tile look dark, the buyers are like, "Ew, okay," they're just not going to go for it. And it's pretty easy to refresh or regrout. Also check the mechanical systems. So furnaces and hot water heaters tend to be the bigger ticket items that a home buyer would have to buy. If they are still functional, that's fine. You can offer a home warranty for as little as $500, right? We just replaced our 22-year-old water heaters recently. They lasted 22 years. Most of the inspectors will come out and say, "Oh, more than 8 years old, you got to get a new water heater." Well, no, you're not going to replace something that's not broken. And ours lasted 22 years. So I would definitely have those things checked out by an HVAC contractor. And so if you are thinking of making a move, this is the kind of thing that we offer to our clients all the time to give them an opinion of what the home will sell for, either as is or as repaired, what to do to get their home ready for sale. And then we'll show them how much they'll put in their pocket when it sells. Just give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. So, Barb, what are some other things that people should consider when they're selling a rental home?
Well, I mean, it's just like any other home. It's preparation, pricing, and promotion. So you want to promote the home clean and repaired. And I don't recommend leaving your tenants in there unless they are just keep a shockingly very, very nice house. It's pretty unusual to see that and have it work, especially in this market where 2 out of 3 homes are not selling. I would prefer to show it vacant, although it's not a bad idea just for security, maybe to leave the internet on and have a couple security cameras up just so you know what's going on. And pricing it, of course, is always, always the most critical thing. A lot of people think that they should price high just a little bit for a negotiating room, but that's a mistake because the buyers know values probably better than a lot of real estate agents, and they are not going to waste their gas money to come see the home if it's even slightly overpriced. And you want to factor in the market conditions. You know, many buyers are watching what's available in their home buying criteria. They know the market. They could tell if it's overpriced. And if a home is underpriced, more than likely there is a reason. Like I have a bidding war that just happened on one of my properties that's a VA repo. And it had a lot of pet damage in the home, so much so that we had to pull the carpet. The subfloors are heavily stained. The trim was swollen up with dogs peeing on it. We had to pull that. And it still looks gross and it still smells gross. But it was priced so aggressively, we still got 8 offers and it went way over asking price. So how does that happen? Buyers know the market. They know if they're getting a good deal or not. But typically the steps are you want the tenant to clear out their stuff, get it cleaned up, make sure everything's in good shape, and then go on the market and price it very realistically and make sure you hire the agent that knows how to promote the home. You want to promote the home to attract the buyer, not repel the buyer, like the pictures I'm showing you right now of bags of trash and a lot of clutter. If you are thinking of making a move and you want advice like this, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. This topic dovetails in with the next topic. When we come back, we'll be discussing getting the best price plus 4 common negotiating mistakes and Barb's hot new listings. Don't